In the border state of Arizona, a tough voter registration law is suppressing the nation's fastest-growing voting bloc. So far, Arizona is the only state in the nation that requires documented proof of citizenship in order to register to vote. Supporters say the requirement stops voter fraud by illegal immigrants. Critics say the law has a different purpose.
I feel that is an attack to the Latino community.
Arizona's law is unique for now, but that could change next year. Last April, other states were given a green light to pass similar laws when the U.S. Supreme Court upheld a strict photo ID requirement for Indiana voters.
When that decision came down, it sent shockwaves through a lot of the voting rights community.
Arizona's Proposition 200 has been compared to Jim Crow-era laws that discouraged African Americans from voting. Largely because of its requirements, the state has rejected nearly 40,000 voter registration applications in just 3 years. Many of the applicants were eligible Latino immigrants.
I was so anxious to get my voter registration. I was waiting and waiting. And then, because I didn't receive it, so I went to register again.
The push for Proposition 200 began in 2003 with Kathy McKee, an independent grassroots activist concerned about illegal immigration.
A woman over in El Mirage was running for city council, and come to find out, she had bragged about how she had missed voting in an election for, I think, 12 years or 16 years or something like that. And then some reporter found out that she'd only been naturalized for like 8 years or something. So come to find out, she had voted illegally. And in the interview, she said, oh yeah, we registered hundreds of people illegally, but everybody does it. And it was just like a slap in the face.
McKee grew more alarmed when she heard accusations that groups targeting Latino voters had turned in voter registration forms with false information and forged signatures.
I kept seeing that the Southwest Voter Project and Acorn were getting in trouble in all these other states, and they bragged about how many people they were registering here. So why would I think that their voter registration practices were any different in Arizona?
When a bill to require proof of citizenship for voter registration failed in the state legislature, McKee decided to reintroduce it as a citizen initiative. She formed a political action committee to petition for a spot on the ballot. Republican State Senator Ron Gould gathered petition signatures while he campaigned for office.
You need to assure that only citizens are voting, because people that aren't citizens should not be choosing our leadership.
Arizona's Republican Party chairman, Randy Pollin, sought support from outside the state.
We collected a lot of signatures, but it was nowhere near enough to get it on the ballot. I then approached FAIR, Federation of American Immigration Reform.
FAIR is a powerful Washington group that works to restrict immigration. With FAIR's help, Pollin raised close to $1 million to hire paid signature gatherers.
The lies and scare tactics of politicians.
Advertisements were used to drum up public support, despite opposition from most of the state's elected officials.
Yes! It truly was David versus Goliath. Both of our U.S. senators opposed it, all 8 of our congressmen, including the 6 Republicans.
By November 2004, Proposition 200 passed with 56% of the vote. This meant, in addition to checking a box indicating they're a U.S. citizen, the new law required voter registrants to document their citizenship with a birth certificate, a passport, or naturalization papers. Arizona's history of minority voter suppression, as recently as the 1960s, meant the changes had to be approved by the Department of Justice. In what's now considered a decision shaped by partisan appointees, approval came almost immediately. So, was there a problem with voter fraud by illegal immigrants? And did Proposition 200 put a stop to it?
There was concern that the Democrat Party might try to register them to vote. I don't know if we ever really looked at and tried to find examples of illegal immigrants registering to vote and voting.
Republicans argued Proposition 200 was preemptive.
At the beginning, there was this argument, well, show us that it's actually happening, and our position was we don't really have to demonstrate it. I mean, essentially there were no protections, there were no rules, there was no way to stop it from happening.
But voting rights advocates say concern about individual voter fraud is overblown.
The sort of voter fraud that's really made the news, individuals trying to steal or cast an invalid ballot, is unbelievably rare. It's actually, studies have shown, it's more rare than being struck and killed by lightning.
Levitt says voter fraud by undocumented immigrants is even more rare.
If you're a non-citizen and you register or vote, there's a paper trail, there's a record that connects you to that registration and voting. And it can be and has been investigated, and it can be and has been prosecuted. And if you're convicted, which is a relatively straightforward thing if you're a non-citizen and you've actually registered or voted, you can be put in jail for 5 years for each count. You can be fined up to $10,000, and probably most serious, you can be deported. That is a deportable offense. And in return, you get at most one incremental vote. Now, for the vast majority of people, that calculation, those odds, just don't make sense.